My name is Delia Crow. Until a couple of months ago, I was the programme leader for MA Fashion Design here at Winchester School of Art. And I did that for 11 years. Before that, I was in industry. So this is my first experience of teaching, albeit 11 years. And I now run the Sustainability Lab, which is in this room. And I run a sustainability forum, an annual one, and I work with BA and MA students still a little bit. So there's a mixture of different things. Okay, so my field is fashion design, clothing, and sustainability. So my background as a designer in industry was kind of high street level commercial. So I worked at places like Marks and Spencer's, so big corporate businesses that are fabulous. And Marks and Spencer's have a thing called Plan A, which is their sustainability strategy. So I've always been passionate about sustainability. And since I've been at the art school, I've been trying to include it in the work that I do. And that becomes some of my research as well. And I aim to pass that on to the students. But that's partly why I started the Fashion and Sustainability Forum, which I started in 2016. And that was to share good practice, talk about sustainability, but from a very broad point of view. So it's not about fashion and recycling and, don't buy plastic. It's much broader. So I think about everything from farming to regenerative agriculture, to animals, to people, to transport. So I think when people think about fashion design, they think it's quite a small kind of niche market, but actually it involves all of us. We all wear clothes, we all wear fashion, or we all wear clothes, and every part of our life is touched by how things are designed. And I think that's a big part of what motivates me, because I think a lot of people think fashion design is a bit girly, a bit vain, but in fact, we all wear clothes. It's really important for everybody. So, and it affects every part of our life. So I think that's why it's so important to me. Sustainability and responsibility is really important to me. I think that everybody needs to take responsibility for their actions and the way they live. And I don't mean that in a pointing fingers, blaming point of view at all. I think that's the worst thing to do. But I was brought up with a mother and that saved everything and that remade things, reused things, recycled things. I think that one of the things I think is really important is that before now, in the last 50 years, things have become quite cheap. And in fact, things, objects, materials, what we have around us, they're really precious. And I'm really passionate about making sure the students understand how lucky they are, how precious everything is. And I think just understanding the preciousness of everyday things and objects. And so I think a lot of it comes from my family. My mum is still exactly the same, my brother's the same. So I really respect the way I was brought up, and I think learning from people, and things in the past, I think that's really important. So I think that's where the passion comes from, really. So I feel that the impact of doing this project will be that sustainability in the fashion business, in the industry of design, is one of the most important things that we are looking at right now. So climate change, and there's crises all over the world, and that is involving people, the planet, resources, and everything. So it's vital that any student understands some of the context of that. So we will be talking about the context, and what I mean by that is the the population of the world is aging, that will influence designers. The population is growing, that will influence designers. The earth is running out of resources. So all those things that need to influence design, we will be talking about those things. And I think that any student that goes to get a job anywhere needs to have an idea of some of these issues. So we'll talk about those things. We'll be teaching some of those things. We will be working together. So we will be working with our hands. We'll be making things. The idea of the work we'll do will be zero waste. So again, whether it's thinking about the issues or hearing about the issues or writing about the issues or making something that is zero waste, I think it will give the students some skills that they will be able to take either on to further study or to an employer. I think it's so important. I think what's really important about thinking about fashion and sustainability is working in lots of different ways. So we will be looking in the library and doing a workshop there. We will be working in the studio. We will be teaching the students how to make textiles or to make like a mini garment, depending on, the students will come from different backgrounds. And if they have some skill in sewing, then they can make garments or they can make textile pieces. If not, they can just make sort of experimental pieces. So there's going to be a lot of different ways of working. So some will be learning from books, from lectures, from talking to staff. Some will be group discussions. Some will be going out and experiencing other parts of either Winchester, or I want to take the students to London for the day, because in the UK that's obviously the centre of the fashion industry, and we can go and look at sort of materials and clothes and sustainable things like that. And at the end of the project, the students will have something to take away with them. I think that was really important, that actually they will take away this sketchbook which has maybe some drawing, maybe some photographs, maybe some writings, maybe some work. And it means that is something that they can use to put towards either a university application or a portfolio of work, or when you're applying for a job, but it will give you some practical outcomes. So the material we're using is called Tyvek. And Tyvek is a sort of washable paper, and it's a building material. It's used for insulating buildings, and you can see that as you work with it, it becomes really soft. So it's almost like a material that drapes. It's really beautiful. And what's special about it is that it doesn't fray, which means that you can cut it and it stays completely straight. And when you stitch it, the holes remain. So you can see the holes. You can make patterns with a needle. You can fold it. It doesn't fray. It doesn't, it's really easy to work with. So anybody can work with this material. So for example, here's an example of where a student has almost done sort of origami. And this is a really good way of creating something that's zero waste, because you can fold and create something really beautiful, and you would never know that was zero waste until somebody tells you. Or we have things like this. This is something that a student made a few years ago. Just these are from MA students, by the way. This is not what I'm expecting the students to do in a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So for example, you can weave with it, you can knit with it, you can cut it, so it's got this lovely sort of fluid movement. So I think that it's so easy to work with. Anybody can work with this. So this is why I think it's a really good summer school, because you will be learning a lot of things, but you won't be forced to work in a certain way. It's very open. So if you want to make you know, a knitted piece, do it. If you want to just experiment with cutting, do it. If you want to do weaving, do it. So whether you're interested in textiles or fashion or neither of those things, there's so much you can do with this fabric, and it's very easy. So that's the sort of thing we'll be working with. And I think the other important thing is that it's white. And the reason I have called it the White Project is because often it's really easy to get distracted by colour and print and, oh, I want to use, you know, red thread. Oh, can I print on something? I want to do something with the material. And actually, if I say to the students, you have to just focus, you've got one material, you have to focus on one material. And that means that you are always just thinking about what you're designing. And it sort of makes it makes a really nice, pure project. And the other thing is, at the end of the project, when we have garments or items and we'll have some lovely sketchbooks, we can actually have an exhibition. And because everything's white, everything looks like it's part of one collection. It goes together really well. And I think what is also lovely is when I do exhibitions with students, the pieces of work just look amazing and they're all different. It's one fabric, one, you know, zero waste, white Tyvek, but I've never seen two things the same. So I think that again is what's really interesting. It really pushes your creativity, which is the point of being a designer. You're solving a problem as a designer. So I think for the summer school, it's a case of thinking about, you know, what can you do? How can you contribute? How can you work with this? But then what else could you do? It will make you think of other things as well. So the structure of the summer school will be, I will do some lecturing, but it won't be formal. It won't be in a lecture theatre, don't ask questions. It will be very interactive. So I will be introducing the project. I will be talking about sustainability and some of the things that I'd like the students to think about. So the context, where we are, what's happening in the world, so that they have a kind of a grounding for the 3 weeks. And then we will do practical workshops. The technicians that work here are fantastic. And so I'm hoping that we will have some fashion technician and some textile technician to come and demonstrate different ways of working, to teach you how to use the sewing machines. So it means that then we can spend some time working practically. So we will be giving you demonstrations and then we'll all be working and we'll be coming around and seeing what you're doing, and you can talk to each other, you can share your work, you're talking to me all the time. So it's very relaxed, very open, very casual. Then there will be a day where we go out and do something. So one day, as I said, it will be Textures of Winchester. So that will be a lovely introduction to the city, which is gorgeous. And I think it's really nice to know where you are. One of the days we'll go to London. So that will be great. We'll go up and go to an exhibition or museum. And so there will be a variety of things. So some of it will be discussion based. Some of it, as I said, will be going to the library and really having a look at all our books and finding some inspiration there, because we have the most fantastic library. So it's not going to be the same every day. It's not going to be very structured in that way. It's not going to be me talking at you for 3 weeks. That is not the point. It's going to be much more working together. Let's have fun. Let's experiment. And that is how you learn. So it's very much based around experiential learning. You know, you make something, you learn something, you understand, you can talk about it. So it's very collaborative, very kind of, we're all together in one space, sharing space. And so yeah, it's really nice. It's nice and active.